All right, guys. So before I let you guys go off and start drawing on your main final project, I want to teach you guys about something called composition. All right. Composition is basically how you set up your drawing or image, right? This works in photography, painting, drawing, whatever, right? Um, there are, most of the time when you're thinking of drawing, usually you just pick up a piece of paper and then you just put whatever you want on that piece of paper, right? It doesn't matter where it is. Sometimes it's here, 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 or most of the time, instinctively, we're probably just thinking, oh, just put it right in the middle, right? Right in the middle. That should be the best place to put it. I'm going to tell you right now that that is not the most interesting place to put it. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad if you put something right in the middle. It just means that it could be better, right? And that's the goal here. We're always just trying to make things look as good as we can um, at all times. And sometimes we forget, and sometimes we don't have to. But in this case, I want this to be something we're thinking about. All right. So looking at these two images that I provided for you here down below, um, we have this one picture of a girl kissing her dog, and this one picture with a girl holding her dog, right? They're pretty much the same topic, right? Subject. It's just girl, dog, grass area, blah, 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 right? Whatever. Let's ignore that, right? Who cares what's actually in it? We're talking about where these two things, the girl and the dog, are placed. Okay. Number one, we have this girl right in the middle, holding her dog, kissing her dog, whatever, right? But it's right in the middle. What are we looking at besides those two? Nothing, right? Who cares about the grass? It's all whatever, right? We look at it really quickly and then that's it. However, if we look over here, right, just by shifting this girl over to the right a bit more, this image now becomes a little bit more interesting. Maybe, you're really focused on the kid and the dog, but, if you look at it as an entire image, it's more interesting. Okay. So let's talk about why that is. All right, there's something here called the golden ratio. All right, if this is your piece of paper, right, 8.5 by 11, whatever size paper you want, right, you want to divide it into three sections. 2/3 of that section is going to be this large area. Okay, you don't want to make it too dense, right? So remember, if we're doing our project, right, with like a bunch of stuff, you don't want to shove all of that stuff, like those tiny, tiny, tiny things, into this large area. You could have some, right, but don't fill it up where it's super, super dense. Okay, and then we're gonna focus on the main 1/3, like just 1/3 of the entire image, 1/3 of the entire paper. All right, the top, we're gonna split that up into thirds as well. The top 2/3 is gonna have more density for the most part, right, than this larger area here, but not as much density here. Okay, then we're gonna go down. This section here is gonna be split up into thirds as well, right? This is 2/3, this is 1/3. This is gonna be a little bit more dense than this part. Then in here, we split this up into thirds. This part down here is going to be a little bit more dense. And it's going to go all the way until we reach this circle, right? And you're going to have as much detail as you can in this area here. And this is called the focal point. Okay. The area, it's called the focal point because that is the area that we, as the viewer, are going to look at the most. That's what draws our attention in. Okay. Now let's look at these two examples of the current project. All right, we're gonna go ahead and apply the golden ratio on top of it. You don't have to have the golden ratio be like just horizontal like that. You can rotate it in any way you want, and it still applies. Right? Notice here, I have my largest objects here. Nothing too dense. I create bigger gaps between each of my donuts. Right? And then my post-it note is actually my focal point. Right? That's where it's the most dense. Right? Notice where the swirl is like as tight as possible. That's where most of the density comes in, right? The smallest donuts are there. They're all cramped together. Okay. Now, again, looking at the sushi, same thing here. Now, it doesn't mean this area doesn't mean that you have to leave it blank. This area doesn't mean you have to leave it blank, right? It just means it's loose. It's like floating a bit more. The audience isn't really you're not trying to get your audience to pay attention to that section, but it gets more and more dense into this swirl. Okay. I like to work from the swirl and work outwards.